Nightfall is a 1941 science fiction short story by Isaac Asimov about the coming of darkness to the people of a planet ordinarily illuminated at all times on all sides. It was adapted into a novel with Robert Silverberg in 1990. The short story has been included in 48 anthologies, and has appeared in 6 collections of Asimov's stories. In 1968, the Science Fiction Writers of America voted Nightfall the best science fiction short story written prior to the 1965 establishment of the Nebula Awards, and included it in the Science Fiction Hall of Fame Volume 1, 1929–1964. The short story was published in the September 1941 issue of Astounding Science Fiction magazine under editor John W. Campbell. It was the 32nd story by Asimov, written while he was working in his father's candy store and studying at Columbia University. According to Asimov's autobiography, Campbell asked Asimov to write the story after discussing with him a quotation from Ralph Waldo Emerson, "If the stars should appear one night in 1,000 years, how would men believe and adore, and preserve for many generations the remembrance of the city of God?" Campbell's opinion to the contrary was, "I think men would go mad." Plot summary: the fictional planet Lagash is located in a stellar system containing 6 suns, which keep the whole planet continuously illuminated. Total darkness is unknown, and as a result so are all the stars outside the planet's stellar system. A group of scientists from Cairo University begin to make a series of related discoveries. Sheeran 501, a psychologist, researches the effects of prolonged exposure to darkness. Cypher 89, an archaeologist, finds evidence of multiple cyclical collapses of civilization which have occurred regularly about every 2,000 years, and BNE 25 is an astronomer who has discovered irregularities in the orbit of Lagash around its primary sun Alpha. BNE takes his findings to his superior at the university, Eton, who formulated the theory of universal gravitation. This prompts the astronomers at Cairo University to seek the cause of this anomaly. Eventually they discover that the only possible cause of the deviation is an astronomical body that orbits Lagash. BNE, through his friend Theremin 762, a reporter, has learned some of the beliefs of the group known as the cult. They believe the world would be destroyed in a darkness with the appearance of stars that unleash a torrent of fire. BNE combines what he has learned about the repetitive collapses at the archaeological site, and the new theory of potential eclipses. He concludes that once every 20–49 years the one sun visible is eclipsed, resulting in a brief night. His theory is that this night was so horrifying to the people who experienced it that they desperately sought out any light source to try to drive it away, particularly by frantically starting fires which burned down and destroyed their successive civilizations. He also postulates that the apostles of the flame started out as vague surviving legends and myths after the last eclipse. Small children too young to understand what was happening did not go insane but grew up half feral in the ruins, and as they grew older the only clues they had were the insane ramblings of adults who had lived through the eclipse. Over the centuries these vague stories became legend, and then a cult of religious devotion. Since the current population of Lagash has never experienced general darkness, the scientists conclude that the darkness would traumatize the people and that they would need to prepare for it. When nightfall occurs, the scientists and the rest of the planet are most surprised by the sight of hitherto invisible stars outside the 6-star system filling the sky. Never having seen other stars in the sky, the inhabitants of Lagash had come to believe that their 6-star system contained the entirety of the universe. In one horrifying instant, anyone gazing at the night sky the first night sky which they have ever known is suddenly faced with the reality that the universe contains many millions upon billions of stars. The awesome, horrifying realization of just how vast the universe truly is drives them insane. The short story concludes with the arrival of the night and a crimson glow that was not the glow of a sun, with the implication that societal collapse has occurred once again. In the novel and X-1 program, civil disorder breaks out. Cities are destroyed in massive fires and civilization collapses, with the ashes of the fallen civilization and the competing groups trying to seize control. Setting: the 6-star system of Lagash is complicated. They are named Alpha, Beta, etc. in the original short story, and with original names in the novel. In the novel, Onos is the primary sun of Calgash and is located 10 light-minutes away, similar to the distance from Earth to our Sun. The other 5 suns are minor in comparison, but provide enough light to prevent the inhabitants of Calgash from defining night. The only other distance given is that Tanno and Sitha are about 11 times as far away as Onos is. Onos a yellow dwarf a similar to the Sun, Duvim a red dwarf, Trey and Patru a class A or F main sequence stars, described as white a binary star system, Tanno and Sitha a class A, B or O main sequence stars, described as blue a binary star system. From what can be drawn from the text, Onos, the star appearing brightest and largest in Calgash's sky, is the star that Calgash orbits. Onos in turn orbits around the binary system Trey and Patru, the other binary system Tanno and Sitha, and the red dwarf star Duvim. In addition to these stars, the only other celestial object mentioned is Calgash's moon, dubbed Calgash-2 by the scientists of Calgash. Calgash-2 follows an eccentric orbit around Calgash and eclipses Duvim, during a period when from one part of Calgash, Duvim is the only star visible, every 20-49 years. The characters of Nightfall travel to 3 separate locations on Calgash. Most of the book is set in Sairo City, which is situated near a large forest with trees, bushes, and graben. As stated in the introduction, the weather in the book is analogous to the meteorologic experiences of the characters in the book, and the region of Sairo City receives rains that last several days. The first major weather fluctuation mentioned in the book is the sandstorm that Sidefern 89 avoided by hiding under a tarpaulin with her crew. The other weather event was the monsoon-like rains that occurred after Shirin 501 returned from a consultation in Jungla, which is described as a northern city. Sidefern 89 travels to Beklamat, which is described as half a world away from Jungla. Beklamat is located on the Sagacan Peninsula, near mountains. Beklamat is in a sandy, arid desert region. Adaptations in other media. In the 1950s, the story was adapted for radio programs Dimension X and X-1. In 1976, Analog Records, as their only release, presented a further dramatization of Nightfall on a 33 1/3 RPM's vinyl record, produced by James Cutting and recorded at American Learning Center. After the story, it includes a dialogue between Isaac Asimov and Ben Borver. In 1988, a low-budget movie was produced based upon the story. The movie was shot on location at the Ark-Hosenty project, using the resident community members as background actors. Another film version was made in 2000. In April 2007, the story was the 100th episode of Escape Pod, a science fiction podcast. See also: Solar eclipses in fiction. References. Further reading: Smarandesh Mark, Jarrant Murthy. Nightfall, Can Calgash Exist? A.R. Ziv, 1407.4895. Bibcode, 2014 A.R. Ziv 1407.4895D. External links: audio review and discussion of Nightfall at the Science Fiction Book Review Podcast, Emerson's essay from which the quote above comes, Nature. In the early Asimov, Book 2, pages 64, Asimov laments that he was not able to find the quotation. Nightfall, read by Stephen Ellie on the 100th episode of Escape Pod.